And I'm actually much more well known for studies on the human energy field and on energy medicine. And those studies led me to take a look at water, the water in life, and to ask the question, what should we drink? What really is the optimum water? Is there a fountain of youth that we can rejuvenate, become more resilient, etc.? So this talk is slanted toward that topic in particular, and it's not my main research, but it's certainly an important topic regarding life, because we're on the water planet. Life requires water. It's the common element. It's really the matrix of life. Now, how does this thing work? Let's see. It's supposed to go forward, but it ain't. Now I've got a problem. They tell me to press these things. It's a little backwards. Okay. So water is essential to life, but it's been largely ignored, especially in science. Everybody looks at the biomolecules. The last 60 years, the unraveling of DNA, the proteins, the carbohydrates, the fats in great detail, the pathways, the genome, etc. But the fact remains that 99% of the molecules of life are water in our bodies. And yet science has been preoccupied with the 1%. There is a new water science. If you heard Gerald Pollack the other day, you learned a little bit about that, and he has elucidated evidence for a fourth phase of water, which is really remarkable. And there's more to that science. I think not only is there a fourth phase, but I would say there are many minor structural variations in liquid water that enable water to hold information vital to life, energy and information. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. I see water as a complex dynamical substance, forever sensing its environment and responding accordingly, just like a living system. So many of the properties that Gerald Pollack talked about in his talk, explaining some properties of life in terms of water, I would extend to even more subtle realms. So the new science of water sees water as an active participant in life, not just a passive solvent holding together the biomolecules. That's what's new. And the human body is mostly water. Here we have the breakdown of the water content of cells in general, the kidneys, 83%. Body fat has the least water, but still there's some water there, 10%. Water and fat don't mix very well. And even bone has water, 22%. And some tissues like brain are really high in water. So it's the major component. Water has many functions in the body, regulating body temperature, transporting nutrients, etc., circulation with the blood, moisturizing the air in our lungs. It is involved highly with many biochemical reactions. If you look at them, you'll see the splitting of water, the formation of water. It's essential in every way. So, and we start out much like this, very supple and full of water, and we gravitate toward this in old age. So it's been found that the greatest change in aging is loss of water. We start out 85% as young babies. By the time we're 65 years old, we've dropped some 20% or more of intracellular water. That's a profound change. And yet everybody's looking at modifications of DNA or telomeres or cross-linking of collagen as aging effects, when it's this loss of water. How can we restore this? How can we prevent this loss of water? Those are some questions that I've asked. And what do we drink? Well, lots of people today are drinking bottled water. Of course, there's plasticizers in there, and the regulators don't tell us that they require anything special about bottled water, except that it'd be just as good as tap water in terms of safe and microbial free, etc. Ideally, we would drink mountain streams, water flowing. We would drink well waters, and most of us at best are drinking mineralized alkaline water. sometimes in bottles. And the richest water, the healthiest water, is rich in electrons. If we were to measure the water flowing on the earth in streams at the site, not in a bottle like this, but I'm doing this because it's all I can get here. Here's Evian mountain water. If we could measure it at the site, bring our instruments to the site of a stream and measure it, we would measure a rich in electron stream. In other words, a very high negative oxidative reductive potential. So that it could be an electron donor. In other words, a very profound antioxidant. But we're drinking water from the tap, we're drinking beverages, water, etc. from bottles. And what do they have? They have a high positive oxidative reductive potential, just the opposite. So that's problematic because we've been doing it for life. Here's a physician that I met years ago. He's no longer on this plane, Dr. Batmanjali, lived in New York, and he treated chronic disease with water. And he said that much of chronic disease could be assisted by drinking more water. People are not drinking enough water. As we age too, we lose our sense for thirst. So in other words, we may really need water, but we're not thirsty enough to take enough water in, and that's problematic. That book is still being sold. And hydration is especially important for energy medicine. If any of you are acupuncturists or energy healers or using energetic therapies of any type, they're not working as well unless someone is well hydrated. So it's very important to drink water along with those practices. It's essential for the energy flow in the body. I have measured the electricity at the acupuncture points and meridians. And I can tell you this, when someone is not well hydrated, the electricity in the body is low. That's clear. And give them a glass of water and wait 20 minutes, which is about the absorption time of water in the stomach, and presto, the energy comes way up. So the whole acupuncture system of meridians and points, the conductivity of that depends on your hydration level. So today we have a lot of concerns about drinking water quality. As a child, I grew up in the Chicago area. We had the Great Lakes, which we could, I don't think were even chlorinated much in my time growing up there. And now all of these waters have become unpalatable. I'm practically gagging on the water at lunchtime. I don't know about you. Yeah. So much great attention paid to organic food and fresh and local, and then the water is pathetic. Pardon me, but that's so. I have to say so. And I did find some filtered water in the exercise facility that at least doesn't have that chlorine edge. So I've been going in there to get a glass of water all day. So water is treated with chlorine, but worse, it's treated with chloramine, and you can't boil that off, and it kills fish. We have a group in the San Francisco Bay Area, People Against Chloramine, people who've got respiratory symptoms from drinking chloramine-treated water, and they can't boil it off. Well, you can filter it off, fortunately, with carbon block or carbon granules. But fluoride is another thing. Sold to us as something to build teeth and retain enamel on your teeth, etc., but it's a metabolic poison. It may have something to do with building enamel in teeth when you're young, and then it's useless for adults. It's a metabolic poison. It also calcifies the pineal gland. And it's rather difficult to filter because it's a very tiny ion. It requires a special filter. It is not removed by carbon granules or carbon block. And most of us are reaching out for bottled water, which have plasticizers. And that's unfortunate because these plasticizers, and if you look at the bottom of a water bottle, most of them are rather transparent like this bottle, and then you see a number 1 on most of them because it is marketable to see clear plastic and it looks like clean water. Actually, it's the worst plastic, number 1. You're better off buying it in polyethylene jugs that are not transparent. That plastic is safer than this kind of plastic, which is leaching plasticizers into your drinking water. And you don't know the history of this. Okay, it came from Evian, the French Alps. And then it traveled in a truck, maybe got heated up on a ship or something. We have no idea of its history and whether it's still pristine and clean and not full of plastic, among other things, bottling plant chemicals, etc. It's also stagnant. Would you eat canned food? Canned food doesn't have a lot of vitality. We should be measuring that soon with that device compared to fresh food. That will be interesting. But we're drinking bottled water. It's like it's stagnant. Water was meant to move. Water is always moving in nature. If it's not, it's stagnant, and it's not healthy. So